I think this is the part that I love the most. The new map is fictionalized Miami, but will update over time. The game's new map is focused on a fictional version of Miami and its surrounding areas. Rockstar plans to continually update the game over time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis, which leadership hopes will lead to less crunch during the game's final months. Still, the game's world remains large with more interior locations than previous GTA games. Well, that's a lot of words to say that the game is going to launch unfinished. All jokes aside, though, I'm looking at this and like $2 billion to make, and I'm sitting here thinking, wondering, do we actually need $2 billion games? Like, is it not even if it's worth it, but does it actually look like a video game that costed $2 billion to make? And the question is, like, is it going to be more enjoyable than, I don't know, Stellar Blade? Is it going to be more enjoyable than Witcher 3? I mean, hopefully it will be, right? Because it costs $2 billion to make. But I'm looking at the company itself, and I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned because recently they did make remakes of old GTAs. And instead of caring about their customers, they were very worried about the modern audience, as well as what the gaming press will say, because obviously the gaming press is paramount in these conversations. Like, you can't just make a game without pleasing the gaming press. So they removed a lot of jokes about transgenders, of course. Like jokes about rural America and hillbillies. Like, those are there, of course. But other jokes that upsets the left-leaning people, no, they're gone. I think they removed the hookers. I don't know if they did that. But I think there were conversations about doing it. So anyone that still plays GTA, let me know if they removed the hookers. Because this was like Anita Sarkeesian's biggest gripe, right? Like, she couldn't enjoy GTA because she's such a huge gamer. And she couldn't enjoy GTA because of the hookers. And now I think she's playing it. Now I think Anita Sarkeesian can finally enjoy the game. The reason that I find this to be so interesting is that I actually grew up with this game, and it was very important conversation starter. It was very difficult to justify to people at the time, why do you want to play a game where you're a criminal? I don't know how many of you actually remember that era, or if you actually caught that era, but it was like all the thing in Fox News, right? Like, they were trying to associate almost every single mass shooter with this game. Like, it's difficult to imagine, but that actually happened, right? And you would have like, oh, well, this guy committed a shooting, and police has found out that he was playing GTA. And it was very difficult to explain to people why you would want to immerse yourself into the role of a criminal and go after the cops and commit crimes, right? Like how do you justify that? Like, why exactly? And the answer is because it's make-believe, right? But if they don't accept that, if they don't think that, no, like, they're considered, no, you're a sociopath because you're playing these types of games. So there are other people that play these games and they did bad things, so you're just a person that's willing to snap, right? It's very difficult to get out of that conversation. Like, what do you say? But what did happen is that Rocksteady doubled down. They made a video game called Manhunt. And Manhunt is, like, insanely over the top. I mean, for those of you who don't know, this is an actual AAA game, which is banned. It's adult only, not because it has scenes of nudity or anything like that, but because of the violence. Like, it's one of the most violent games ever made. And it's made by the same company that made GTA. They will probably never admit to that today. But I only played the first game. I never got to play the second, the sequel. And you basically play the role of a serial killer that's about to get the chair, but just about you're getting executed, something happens, right? So you're being, like, your execution is canceled, and you're being placed in a van. And then you find out that this incredibly rich person has managed to secure your freedom. But this rich person is a sadistic individual who likes to masturbate to snuff, right? So he actually releases you in this dungeon of his where there are people that are trying to kill you, and you have to escape. So it's that's the story of the game, right? And as you're playing, you hear the rich person talking into your headphone, and you actually hear him cranking it to what you're doing. Like the violence turns him on. It's a very disturbing game. Again, it's made by this company. They're probably ashamed of their past. They would never make a remake of that game. Even though, like, the gameplay mechanics are really interesting. Like, you can decapitate someone and then throw their head into enemies that don't know you're there, and the enemies get frightened, and you're using terror tactics against them. But my point is that was their answer to criticism, right? Like, people thought that GTA is too violent. So what these game developers did is like, okay, well, we're going to make a game that's even more violent, and you're going to criticize that and leave GTA alone. And that was the mentality then. Now it seems that the mentality is like, no, like, if people think that sexism is problematic, we're going to use a female character as a protagonist. If people think that sexualization and everything that straight men like, we're going to tone down that. And we're going to make sure that we don't add any offensive jokes. We're going to sanitize the game. And this is a problem in a series like GTA, where the whole thing is a parody, where the whole thing is like making it to the extreme. And if people don't view it that you're doing this generally, and people view it that you're just partisan and you're only making fun of like what you consider to be like right-wing and left-wing things you're considering sacred and you're not touching it, I do think that the game will suffer. So do I think that the game is going to sell or not? Well, in the case of video games that are like GTA, right? So you get like GTA 4, 5, 6. They sell as good as the previous title. So all the sales that GTA 6 will have are on the back of GTA 5. Which means that people will buy it regardless. Like even if it's like a really bad story, even if the missions are meh, even if the gameplay is just like bare minimum, people will still buy it because they like GTA 5. And it is a hallmark. Now, the only way that people won't buy it is if it's bug-ridden. So if it's unplayable, if it's unstable, and word carries around, it will still sell copies though. But it's going to actually affect the overall sales. And that's the only way that I can see it. But, so far, again, it looks like a serviceable game, and I do think it will sell. But the story is going to decide GTA 7. So if it has a good story, if it's anywhere near the quality of GTA 5, then we're going to see GTA 7 sell really well. If it has a boring or a bland story, it may still be passable simply because of the fact that it's GTA. But if it's something awful, like if it's really cringe, if it's going to get a lot of people to criticize and mock it, and the people that criticize and mock it get views, and people agree with the mockery and the criticism, then GTA 7 is not going to do very well. So that's my assessment on what's going to happen. Personally, I think the story is going to be somewhat mediocre, simply because it's just not possible to make an edgy story in 2024. And it's not just because companies are infested with people that sanitize everything and just do not allow you to make an edgy story. It's also the fact that all platforms now have rules and regulations that didn't exist when GTA was created. So basically when GTA was created, you had pretty much almost absolute freedom. Like you could make whatever game you want. You could just do whatever you wanted. That was the internet back then. Now you got terms of service. So if you want to launch it on Steam, there's terms of service there. If you want to launch it on PlayStation, there's terms of service there. And the terms of service is like, oh yeah, make sure you don't have representation of drugs, alcohol, make sure that you don't have any hate speech, blah, 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 like ambiguous shit. And then you have like actual legislations from countries that didn't exist back in the day. So again, like stuff like alcohol and drugs, there may actually be nations that will ban this game. They do make exceptions though. Like sometimes I find this interesting. They don't apply the law when it's a huge title, which could potentially be because either they're getting bribed, or the title, instead of calling it alcohol, they call it herbal medicine. Instead of calling it drugs, they call it pixie dust or whatever. Yeah. Energy dust. Yeah, that I heard that title. So they can actually get around that. But yeah, I mean, we're moving towards a more centralized internet that just doesn't allow people to create games like Postal, like Manhunt, like the old GTA, And it's not entirely due to the companies, because a lot of people ask, well, why don't indies take over? Why don't we see like a lot of indies like Postal? And it's like, well, okay, like let's say you make an indie like Postal. When are you going to publish it? Like, not only will they ban you everywhere, but people will dox you, will find out who you are. They're going to try to get you fired, blacklisted from the industry. This is why I don't get it, right? So we'll see if GTA 6 is going to be interesting. Again, the idea of a female character that's all gangsta and is committing crimes. As a person who grew up in an impoverished neighborhood, I'd never seen that. Like, but like, you know, maybe the developers have seen it. Like, maybe this is common in the United States. What am I talking about? You know, I'm just comparing my Romanian immersion with the United States. I mean, maybe the women in the United States are very criminal oriented and they're incredibly prone to violence, just like the men. I mean, this must be something what the devs experience in California. I mean, California is expanding when it comes to its criminal enterprises, so like maybe they are so progressive that even the criminals there are more accepted of tolerance and diversity. Huh? Is this what's happening? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Are more gender inclusive than the ones in Romania? Is this what happens there? Huh? Representation everywhere except into the sex work industry, because I understand they removed the hookers, right? So that. I guess if they remove the hooker, the criminal element, right? Because that's still a crime. Like, prostitution is a crime. So, like, they had to reorient. And they reorient. Is this what happened? Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.